I want to pick up a small detail from Hackboz 2B167, who says, and we're talking about the fiddle-backed chasuble, the vestment that the Pope has been seen wearing in the past. And Hackbos says, I would say this is a good news, but looking at the picture, he does not seem to be wearing a maniple. Is he just wearing the chasuble and not actually celebrating the Tridentine Mass? Well, that is certainly a possibility. What I noticed from the uh, photograph, I don't know whether I can bring it up. Is that it? No, that's not it. Um, that's quite different. No, I don't think I can bring it up. Maybe I can. There it is. There it is. That's the picture of the Pope wearing the chasuble. Now, what one would normally wear under the chasuble? Now, the chasuble symbolises the royal robe that Christ wears, and that was imposed on him during the scourging at the pillar. And when the priest puts on the robe, there's a prayer which refers to it as the yoke of Christ. And the fiddleback chasuble, the sides have been tapered away to allow with greater ease with these much more elaborate chalices to raise them, to lower them, and so on. The what I think is noticeable in this picture is the position of the stole. Normally in post Vatican II, the stole hangs over the shoulders like a scarf, whereas in pre-Vatican II, in the Tridentine tradition, the stole is crossed, a little bit like a deacon might cross the stole or the orarion or the epitrachelion uh, in the Orthodox churches, and it's quite an elaborate process that would then be anchored by the girdle or the cincture. The cincture, in that case, forms a much closer link to the Orthodox vestment, the zoni, this bit of cloth that goes around the waist. But you're quite right. He doesn't appear to be wearing a maniple. The maniple would be a very short piece of cloth which is worn over the wrist, sometimes called the sudarium, and it goes back to a tradition that Roman magistrates would wear a handkerchief, rather like a waiter might have a cloth over his arm, and then you can also see he's wearing quite an elaborate alb. This is the white garment, that would approximate again in the Eastern churches to the stecarion, the white garment, this image of purity. But I think I think it's an interesting observation, and and it is worth is worth a comment. So thank you very much. And you're quite right. There doesn't appear to be a maniple in the photograph, and I was relying on that story, on some snippets from some bits and pieces of that have come up from people who support the Latin Mass. And again, the Latin Mass tradition is very much misunderstood. There is a Latin Mass which is perfectly acceptable in the. It's certainly perfectly acceptable to pray the Latin Mass in the Catholic Church today. But the fact that the Mass is in Latin is simply a choice of language. Latin is the official language of the Vatican, so it's not surprising there is a Latin Mass. The Tridentine Mass is about a series of rituals, and about the position of the priest facing away from the people. So the altar of the sanctuary is not a stage; it is part of the process. And the performance is the Eucharist, not the priest. And I think that's an interesting. It would be interesting if that rite were permitted fully, as there are so many other rites. And yesterday, Pope Leo was greeting people from the Eastern rites in the Pope Paul VI audience chamber, and I noticed blessing one particular person with the crucifix in an Orthodox tradition, and this is a pontiff who is clearly familiar with the different rites and with the differing traditions, and I think not only could he do a lot to sort out this mess of control over the differing rites, but also I think this is somebody who is probably equipped to negotiate a better relationship with the Eastern churches, with the churches of Greece and of Russia and Ukraine, Romania, and this is a bridge that needs to be built, and it's long overdue. I think this is also a pope who could make serious inroads into interfaith dialogue, particularly with Islam and Judaism. Again, bridges that need to be built, and there was so much work done in the early part of the 1960s, and then it flagged off. Similarly, also between the Catholic Church and the Anglican Church, and I'm not sure of the state of Archic at the moment, but again, that had a big flowering in the 1980s under people like Dom Albrecht Stackpool, and it seems to have tailed off again, and that again is an area that needs urgent attention. But that is unlikely to happen until there's a new Archbishop of Canterbury.